Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, we'll be talking about the importance of a great banking relationship with the founder of a bank. That's just ahead.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Well, I love Texas because our economy is just booming, and that's why we have so many great banks that come to Texas and start in Texas. One bank that I'm very fond of is the Texas Security Bank, and the founder, Craig Scheef, is here today. Thanks for coming on the show.
My pleasure.
Well, I'm dying to hear how it all started, because you chose a year to start the bank at a kind of a dicey time.
Yeah. So we didn't choose that year. It kind of came about. But, my background was in banking. I grew up in kind of a large bank, and then had an opportunity to go to work for kind of a regional bank that was wanting to get into Texas, like a lot of other banks, like you say. And that's where I started working with owner-managed businesses and fell in love with it, was inspired by their free enterprise story, the grit and sacrifice that it takes to be successful. And that inspired us to write a business plan for Texas Security Bank. So I left my employer in April of 2007 to write a business plan, get regulatory approval, raise the capital for the bank. And we had a certain amount of capital that we had to raise by the end of 2007. And we did that, and by the end of 2007, storm clouds in the economy and the banking crisis were brewing, and we ended up opening our doors in May of 2008, Cinco de Mayo. And it was a challenging time, but in retrospect, it was an ideal entry point because we didn't have any bad assets. That was the good news. The bad news is we didn't have any assets. But it's been a joy. I can't believe it's been almost 14 years, and the bank's doing well now, and we've been very blessed.
Let's talk about the importance of a banking relationship, because I've noticed the whole industry has gotten much more customer focused than they were, say, a decade or two ago.
Yeah. From a business, an owner-managed business standpoint, and that's what we focus on, that's really our target market is family-owned business, owner-managed businesses, or what's called smaller middle market. What we discovered is that probably about 70% of those, if they have a college degree, it's not in one of the business disciplines like management, accounting, finance. So they're starved for information, they're coachable. I think part of the dynamic of why it's that way is ignorance is bliss. They don't know what they don't know. They probably wouldn't have taken on the risk had they known what they don't know. And so in terms of the importance of a banking relationship, that's one of the things that we saw. Our mission statement is to elevate the champions of free enterprise. And we do that, through continuing education because of that need. And so we have an academy and a speakers series that'll put 500 or 600 business owners that will put through that a year, and talking about all things associated with running a business enterprise, starting with accounting 1, accounting 2, how to fund a business correctly, how to build a healthy balance sheet, sales management, marketing, on down the line. And that's the Academy. We have a similar program that's monthly a la carte training for business owners and their key players. It tends to be topics that are germane and timely for business owners. That's virtual. And then the third part, and this gets to what you're talking about, of our education, is continuing education for bankers. So we have a bi-weekly curriculum that we execute through a lunch and learn format, talking about running a business. And so it's rare that a banker can go into a business and have a rich, value-added conversation with the business owner about things that the business owner is surprised that banker knows anything about. And it also resonates with our target audience, owner-managed businesses, that they're working with a bank and bankers who, frankly, have done what they've done. Rarely does that happen where, we started with a blank sheet of paper just like they did. We took risk. We know what it's like to sweat payroll. And so, yes, the value of a bank relationship is critical, especially if there's a competent, well-educated banker on the other side of the table.
And of course, we all know about the PPP program. The country was in crisis, and banks were on the front line making sure that businesses stayed in business. We found a great video on your Facebook page. Let's go ahead and roll that now.
I'm really proud to say today, I'm proud of our clients and their resilience, because today, as we sit here in June of 2021, every one of our clients has made it through. Now, there's some bumps and bruises and some people still limping a little bit, but every one of our clients has made it through this. And I think it is a testament to, the government's action, quite frankly, with the Paycheck Protection Program, and how that really was a lifesaver to many, many businesses. In addition, the SBA had their EIDL loan program, which I think was helpful to a lot of clients. But I think really the overarching thing is the resilience of our clients and just their tenacity and their ability to change direction, to make modifications to their business, to do the necessary changes. And really, many of them got very creative and went in a completely different direction in order to generate revenues and keep the companies afloat.
I should note that Chris Jones was on my show a couple of months ago. He's a great asset to your bank.
He is, yeah, for sure.
Well, you're also quoted in the media quite a bit. We're going to show a D Magazine article in which they quote you and they talk about some of the leaders in the industry. It's got to be rewarding to have the media turn to you.
It is. It's flattering. It is part of what we seek to be with business owners, and that's a resource. And so we value and appreciate, like I said, flattered a little bit that somebody wants to hear what we think about a particular topic. So, and that just comes with time, and trying to do a good job.
In that particular article, you were talking about the PPP loan program and how important that was to establish new banking relationships.
Yeah. So I actually was on vacation in Hawaii when all this was happening in the early part in February of 2019. I was talking to my chief financial officer, and he was telling me what's kind of going on. And shortly thereafter, we had a board meeting, and this was before PPP was being discussed. And what we were looking at doing is how could we allocate a certain amount of the bank's capital for lifeline loans, which that need ultimately got addressed through Paycheck Protection. And so as soon as, discussions started coming up, give Chris Jones credit and the rest of our bankers credit, they really got ahead of it. It was a moving target, obviously, and then we started staging because we already had the infrastructure of our training system to be able to be virtual. Training classes associated with our speaker series, but whenever we needed, we would have 400 or 500 business owners and their key players watching that. Here's what we know, here's what we don't know, and about the application process, how do you fill it out, who qualifies, and whatnot. And we worked, 3 weeks straight. I don't want to say 24/7, but every day. I think the first day we had off was Easter Sunday. We let everybody be off. But what I would say about that particular article regarding technology, or innovation, let's use that word. Innovation can use and often does use technology to create efficiency, speed, and accuracy. But sometimes it's re-engineering a particular process, let's say the loan process. And what we realized, and to be able to use existing technology in an innovative fashion, like DocuSign and things like that. But we had to change our process from being a very linear process, right? You get an application, you collect documents, you submit approval all the way to funding. We created a system where as soon as that application came in, there were 5 or 6 or 7 sub-processes that were happening simultaneously, much like, with the vaccine. I mean, that's what had to happen for the vaccine to come on so quickly. And we're able to turn around request applications generally within 48 hours. And so we, in that first round of PPP in 2019, did about 950 paycheck protection loans. We did about 450 in the 2020 program, but about half of those business owners were new to Texas Security Bank because they were with a larger bank and couldn't get it accomplished. And so we had built a significant amount of goodwill, obviously, with those business owners. And from a business development standpoint, we were kind of, our hands were tied because you couldn't go drop in on businesses. But we had a captive prospect base with built goodwill. And so we've been able to convert those from just paycheck protection customers to full-time customers. They obviously got exposed to what the mission, vision, and values of Texas Security Bank has, and it resonated with them, and been blessed to add a lot of customers. So.
Outstanding. Congratulations. You mentioned the speaker series. We're going to put that on the screen. I love it that you're investing in your customers' success, and you have an event coming up in a little bit.
Yes. So we have an executive director of education, Pamela McQuaid, and she runs our speaker series. And this particular one that's coming up, I think the date was on there. A lot of times business and government intersect, as you guys may know. And so business owners wanting to keep an eye on what the trends are regarding regulation, legislation that might be coming up that could affect them. That's the venue. So timely, germane information, that's the venue we use the speaker series for.
Okay, look into your crystal ball. What do you see for the rest of this year and next year as far as the economy goes?
Well, starting with North Texas, I think the future looks very good for North Texas. You guys are probably very aware of the in-migration from other states that may not be as business friendly, and also new business formation and generation. So North Texas is, we're in a very, it's our slice of heaven in terms of economic condition. So I feel very good about that. There's going to be more and more housing starts. I am concerned about the level of stimulus and what that means in terms of inflation. There's uncertainty, as you guys know, ongoing uncertainty with supply chain. When you have Port of Los Angeles and the West Coast having freighters circling around, because they can't get people to work, that obviously becomes a concern, can impact inflation even more. I feel good about the economy as long as we adhere to certain precepts and tenets of free enterprise and liberty. The more we go towards, this could be controversial, shouldn't be, more as business, from a governmental standpoint, we press on towards socialism. That doesn't bode well for the economy. And so, but next couple of years, obviously we've got some elections coming up shortly. It'll be interesting to see where those come out. But by and large, I'm bullish on the United States, and in particular, our economy here in North Texas.
Outstanding. Craig, thank you so much for the information. We're going to end with your website, which is texassecuritybank.com. I appreciate your wisdom and congratulations on your success.
Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it.
That's it.